Hey everybody, Zal here. Welcome back to another episode of Rocket Designs Not Included. As I've been trying to edit through my past videos, like I said in the last one, in order to pump the content out each day, compile it all and move it forward so that my posting timeline is sort of more caught up to my playing timeline. So anyways, I went and edited this video together, and basically what it ended up being is a video that shows how I tested and struggled through my Duo Dupe rocket design. Now, I've made another video, and I've put the link up in the corner here to that in case you haven't seen it. So I have made another video about the guide to the final build of this Duo Dupe rocket design that includes Atmos suits, etc. You can go watch that if you want the full explanation. But what this video more or less is going to be is how you'll see how I test and brainstorm and slowly come to my designs, because good designs in this game, they don't generally come from sitting down and figuring it out on paper and coming up with a system and saying, okay, well, that's going to work. It works on paper, so it'll work in game. And even sometimes once you make it in game, you can say, hey, it seems to be working. It's valid. I've tested it home at my base, or I've tested under ideal conditions, and so therefore it works. That's not true. All these types of systems that we come up with, myself and other creators, they need to be tested under gameplay conditions, and they need to be tested over a long period of time. In my mind, there's does it initially work? And that's the first good test. When I make something, some automation design, a rocket design, etc., initially, does it work? Does everything seem to function? Okay, if that's true, we can move on to the next testing phase, which is let's test it under ideal conditions. Let's test it under short range conditions. So test it for a couple of cycles, test it where all the variables are static. Status is very ideal. And does it work in that situation? Okay, yes, it does. So now we think that we're on to a good plan. But the final test in any build is, does it hold up over hundreds of cycles? Now, it's dynamic, but for example, if you wire something into your base that is involving geysers have a state of dormancy, and they produce a specific amount. So for a test for anything that's related to a geyser, you need to have it tested for hundreds of cycles in order to ensure that what you have built actually works long term. So very often, and when I'm doing stuff in my base, I know a system works and I can finally just leave it alone and stop checking on it and tweaking when it holds up for like 300, 400 cycles. If something can hold up through multiple cycles, multiple evolutions in a base, across hundreds of cycles, then you pretty much can say, okay, this thing will work. It should not break down. So that's kind of the process. With the rocket design, it was a similar thing. It's like, I guess my biggest beef with other creators, they all do great work, and I do learn a lot from them, but they'll go and they'll do something in sandbox mode, and they'll throw a design together that works on paper, and they'll say, so this is how you do this, and here's the design, and it works, and blah, blah, blah. But it's not tested under actual gameplay. It's not tested across hundreds and hundreds of cycles. So they come up with a system that works on paper, it works in sandbox under the perfect conditions, and then they put a guide up and act like that this system is valid and you should use in your gameplay. I've often done that and found that no, their systems don't work under gameplay, and they need tweaking and they need changes. And over hundreds of cycles, they won't hold up. There will be this problem. They never address those issues because they have never tested under actual gameplay, right? So when I make a guide or I come up with something, I have to know it's thoroughly tested. So this video is basically me coming up with this rocket design, which now I've perfected. Now I've tested across hundreds of cycles, and now the final design is exactly where it needs to be. But the video is showing how I had started out with my initial on-paper design, went off to the other planet and started testing it. And as throughout the video, you'll see I discover there's this issue, there's this issue, there's this issue, and I start to brainstorm and theorize and change things and come up with ways to make it better. Now, my biggest fear is that somebody would be watching this video, see those rocket designs that I was initially using, and think that they're valid and start copying them. So Please do not do that. I've got the main overlay of the final design as I'm talking for this introduction. This is the build that works flawlessly. And at the end of the video, I'm going to flash all the different layouts of it as well when I end it, just so it's there as a reference. So if you want to see the final rocket design, you can either go watch my guide on it, which I fully explain, or you can simply go to the end of the video and you can see where I've got all the overlays for you to copy. So anyways, enjoy the video, and if you'll do me a big favor, please hit the like button. It means the world to me. It seems like maybe 5% of people watching my videos hit the like button, but I know that's a general trend on YouTube where people just don't seem to ever want to hit the like button on videos. The majority don't. Like other people's videos, if it has 100,000 views, it'll get 5,000 likes, right? I'm just asking you, I'm really trying to grow the channel. It's not easy when you're starting out because the algorithm won't give your videos exposure to the general audience that would like to watch these videos. So you hitting the like button helps a great deal. Leaving a comment helps a great deal. And definitely subscribing helps a lot. I'm up to 20 subscribers. My new goal is now 30. Woo, big time. I'm going to be the big time if I get to 30. So consider subscribing. Even if you're not interested in my videos, it just would help me out. I'd really appreciate it. So on to the video. So yeah, so his stress is falling. He's delivering the last one. We want to assign him. He's going to get his fourth one, which is the oxygen one. And I thought he recharged it. There we go, Luke. And we'll get this last one in. Screenshot the thumbnail. And let's process. Boom, diver's lungs. So we have just cut our oxygen use by 50%, and therefore, not that I brought enough food and stuff, but that's just going to make these guys' trips for the algae, like the oxygen requirement, so much better. And also, just when they're in their suits, they're going to use a lot less oxygen as well. I believe that's how it works. Yeah, inhaling 50 instead of 100. So they need to recharge their suits like with oxygen even less. Okay, so I guess the next task at hand is to set up the oxygen delivery for this. Yeah, so we've started on the electrolyzer for the Hydra. A couple issues though that I've discovered with this design related to solar power. Once they're down here, obviously the batteries are empty because the engine's not firing, they're not traveling, so it's all on solar power. So the problem is that, and there's been a bunch of problems that have occurred. So because when we arrived and Luke bolted out without the Atmos suit on and started to get the stress spiral, it started to throw him off. He had a few vomit incidents, which we've since cleaned up. The other major issue, though, was the way I had this wired up. I originally had this connected here for when I, am landed at home and I'm going to pump oxygen in to re-provide this. I'm starting to realize that maybe that's not something that I want to have. Maybe I'm just going to have to allow the electrolyzer to be the sole provider of oxygen at all times as far as refueling, especially since this is designed for these staying away for a long time. Because this was hooked up, it actually was preventing the oxygen from refueling the Atmos suit docks. And so what happened is they both drained out. And then I fixed it. And what that did was cause the pump to start to go very aggressively, trying to completely fill them from empty to full. And that's a bit of a problem because it used up the power very quickly. And then what was occurring is because the power was flickering off and on, the phone wasn't usable. And so they were missing their morale buff, which they need from having their phone calls because power was getting cut off. But it was especially hitting Luke hard, and this is the reason why his morale was falling. He wasn't getting his calls in because his schedule is at the nighttime. And I'm probably going to change around the schedules a bit so that he the calls will happen midday. So I'm probably going to do something like that. I'm still thinking about how exactly I want to do this with the timing. But a major thing I did was I changed out this switch to a cycle sensor, so this pump will not be trying to run during the night. Because basically what would happen is, between electrolyzer, which needs to just consistently be going if required, in a normal scenario, it shouldn't be too bad. But we need to reduce the amount of time this is pumping, and also, especially since they both have the 50% oxygen reduction use, now they're using half as much, so it has to pump half as much. So I think that buff is kind of critical for this whole setup when you're playing on the hardest difficulty because of the stress and everything. So anyway, so this thing is going to tame it down during the night so that perhaps the power will not fully deplete out from the day. I may have to extend this further. In fact, I think I might just make it like about this, because honestly the pump should never be running like full out. It's only because we ran these dry and then it worked for a day so hard trying to fill them up that we got into this spiral. So one thing to do, because if they're spending a lot of time outdoors, they're not getting that high decor buff from spending a lot of time in here. So one of the things that you can do if things start to get out of control in that sense, is to just stop. Don't push it. Set this thing back to crew. It will keep them inside and let things stabilize, because if they keep going out and stuff, then you're not going to get back. So, you might have to take a cycle break, especially if you get a spiral out condition like I did because of a bad series of events or mistakes that were made, and then just let everything recalibrate back up to where maybe their stress is back down to zero, their morale is back to high, the pumps are all full, the oxygen is fueled up again, and so on, before you then start again, rather than trying to fight against it. Because I tried that for a while, and Luke has the vomit one, which honestly a lot of people complain about vomit, but I think it's one of the best ones. It's the least destructive. He doesn't break stuff, and he doesn't go eat a whole bunch of food. But the other one where they just cry for a long time, I think is not bad either. But the vomit one, you just clean it up and you get rid of it. So it did cause a few packets of polluted oxygen to go through the system and then damage these. But I bring materials, so they repaired it. So right now we're just sitting back and letting them chill out. They got their pajamas, which means they are actually doing something. So letting them chill out for a bit, let everything start to get stabilized up. Let the pump finish fueling up, finishing up that, and then you can see the power is already having an issue, because if we go check outside, we can see that they've dropped. So that means that the sun's already going down. So we know that we should have already tamed our back this thing even more. So we want to make this maybe like this, and something like that. Maybe 1555. And try that out. So that'll stop drain power. Because we have to be, again, I should change this schedule so that he's not waking up and wanting to use the phone when the sun's not up. So I think I will rework that. So yeah, I'm gonna try this schedule out. That hopefully it'll ease up. I might move this one a bit more forward, I don't know, because I really want to have, if they're going to use the phone, it's at peak time. So I think we're going to try that out and see. Also let this thing stabilize out as well, and then we'll test it and see how it goes. Okay, so made a few changes and got things fueled up, so I'm starting to cut this off. This is all excess. Disconnect this. Now this is all filled up, so the pump is back to a stable situation. Eventually I'm going to eliminate this line, so it's just directly into it with as little piping as possible. Probably don't need this vent at all. Should just use the oxygen, the diffuser based system. The power has kind of caught up. We've repressurized, so suddenly the power drain, they just both had phone calls. So that's good, and I'm pretty sure that then if we look at them, Lando is, because he's staying inside, so he gets the gorgeous decor because he spent so much time in. So it's a good fail-safe that if you start to have a spiral, just restrict them to the base until they get out of it. And then same with him. So the reality is that now Luke's stress is 0 and Lando's 41, and I'm fairly sure that Lando's stress will be falling quite quickly, and he doesn't have the stress buff thing yet, which hopefully we've got 2 left. Hopefully he's going to get it. That will really fire them up. I am thinking too that one flaw is that I should remove 1 battery and add 2 more solar panels, because double batteries, well, it's nice, it's not serving the purpose. 1 would be enough, if even 1 at all. Because they're always empty. Again, I have to think about it, but I think for now it's going to be, I'm going to put 2 more solar panels in, and then that'll be, I think that'll be given the power necessary to, as long as you don't spiral out, that everything is working good. So I'm ready to test out again from more or less a pure standpoint with the changes to see how it will function out. The thing I'm going to do, though, because if they fall behind and miss those calls, it's not very good. So I'm actually thinking of putting an extra downtime in, and so they'll return in time to get their full sleep and sleep in their bed. I don't like it when they fall asleep on the ground and stuff. I'm not sure why that's happening, but honestly, for the given, and then perhaps what I'll do is just eliminate 1 from here, and like if they start their call, they're going to finish it even if it goes into work, as long as I'm not hitting the yellow alert. So I think I'm going to try this out and just see how that plays out. So let's give it a test now. This is on. Suits are full. We can change off of crew and let them start getting back to work. There they go. And we'll see what they're going to get up to. Lots of building to do. They're going to need access down here. We'll just dig this out. It'll be fine. Need a little bridge down. So as you can see, so he's the first guy who's come back. He's gotten to bed on time, and the pump hardly operated at all in order to fill up. So, although again, them using half the oxygen, I think is going to be a big thing. The other thing too is sometimes when that oxygen canister appears here, you should just crack it open and let it release into the environment. It just saves power. You can check outside. Always curious to know why these don't hit 60 watts in the middle of the day. Do they have diminishing returns as you stack them? They must have. So that's part of the issue, right? Is there's diminishing returns. So regardless, adding more would still add more despite the diminishing returns. Don't have any room for any other way of power, so it's an experiment we're dealing with. We're going to see if it can hold up. Because as long as this stuff remains a status quo, then it's not really tweaking the power. It was because I ran out of oxygen, the whole thing, it just started like blasting everything at once. So I think if you can have it set up steady state, it should function. Like this thing should be out, not even necessary, because this thing should just should not be on. It should just fill it up the little bit they use and then be done. So I think it's because I ran it out like the way I did, and then because the oxygen had been all pumped into it so quickly, it was trying to do both too aggressively. So out he goes. Now he did get his call in. I believe I wasn't paying attention. So Luke has does not have it right now. And so they don't have it right now. It might be something along the lines that I'm going to have to reconsider this. It gets you 4 morale because they're always talking across space. So if I could find some other way to give them 4 morale that fits in this single spot here like that, then I would consider doing that as a change. I don't know if there is or not, though. We'll still see if it's functioning. All these new ideas, they look good on paper and you plan it all out, but they require some testing and tweaking and stuff. That's why, like, I made the guide video and then I actually took it down. I'm going to remake it once I perfect this. I should have tested this before, but I really thought that I had a good system going when I made it, but I got a little carried away. So they must be delivering those dream journals. The batteries are actually filling, so that's a good sign, okay, that we've hit a status quo. So I'm going to relax a little bit on all that. So they do deliver the journals. This is just pumping garbage right now. Oh no, this thing, this is, I forgot to turn this off. So, yeah, I'm not sure what would happen if I pump in the wrong element. If we just block it or what. But we'll do this correctly. Turn that off. Okay, so for the this whole oxygen gas system, we'll show you how this thing works. Basically, the idea is that you're generating oxygen from your diffuser to fill the rocket, so dupes can breathe, but you also need to fill their atmosuits so that they can go outside. So the pump is designed to basically pump oxygen as needed up into the system. And what we want, of course, is to have oxygen only go through all this and into these. We don't ever want carbon dioxide, but we also need to get the carbon dioxide to vent out of the system, out this little port here. So that's where this powerless filter comes into play. It saves space. It only takes 2 tiles instead of putting an actual filter in, and the actual gas filter would take up 3 spaces, so it would be a little bit clunky. This thing works pretty good though as far as serving that. So how do we get this set up? Well, the goal is to get in each one of these squares to be only be carbon dioxide, so 1 gram of carbon dioxide. So you can see that right now it's not moving because each one's full and it's saying only 1 gram can go through, so it can't push through. So there's plenty of carbon dioxide in here. There's also oxygen in here. So to correct this and get it primed, first you get some in there just like I did. As long as you get at least 4 grams of carbon dioxide in one packet somewhere, you'll be able to do this. So you take your scissor tool and you disconnect. You disconnect everything. So now it's 4 separate packets, and we can see if we unpause, we can see here's carbon dioxide, here's oxygen, here is oxygen, here is oxygen. So we know that what we want is in this one. Okay, so take your empty pipe tool and select the ones with the oxygen. Set a priority 9 and wait for the dupes to come and empty it out. So Now they've come and emptied it. Vice Admiral Holdo is enjoying a day at the beach in her rad suit. So they've come and emptied it, right? And we can see by checking, here's that carbon dioxide is still there, empty, empty, empty. Okay, so now to populate the carbon dioxide, it's quite simple, is to get this to go again. This one's going to transfer through automatically because it'll send 1 gram through. This will be the first packet that goes, so it'll be forced. Nothing else can enter in. So it's pretty simple. All we have to do is rehook up things, and the shape is a U shape without connecting these two, of course. So if we connect this one, and this one, then what is going to happen is the carbon dioxide is going to go in here. It's going to spread 1 in here, 1 in here, 1 in here, and then it's going to be primed. So we have that set up. We hit unpause, and we can see it happen. Okay, now you can see 1 grams are packeting or floating around, and still in here, there will be at the inside this vent is trapped all that extra carbon. The last step is to hook it up to the outlet vent. So we just take our gas pipe, rehook that up so you can see that's connected now through there, and then let it fly. So now we can see that what's happened is it's gone and injected that carbon, okay? So the system is now going to just keep rotating like this with the 1 gram. What it means is that oxygen can't get into the system now because it doesn't match these packets. And then any time that carbon dioxide gets in the system, it will add to these packets, but 1 gram will always transfer through here and the rest will flood out here. So this system is now on and primed. And we will see when I unpause that this thing starts pumping, and the oxygen merely builds up in here until it is full, and the carbon waits for any carbon to come in. Now, the thing is that this system is designed to fill Atmos suits. It's not designed to get the carbon out. You cannot eject carbon when you are in space. These vents will not work, okay? So whenever you're landed on a remote planet, for example, but I'm at my home planet, but if you're on a remote planet, you would need to make sure you hooked up at least 1 pipe segment in a vent here. And then it can eject, right? I've got mine that runs down to here, but basically this is so that it can eject. So you need to have that for this thing to work to get rid of carbon. But again, all that's going to happen is while you're flying in space, carbon dioxide might build up a little bit. Even when you're on the ground, if you don't have it turned on, it'll build up a little bit. But whenever you do activate this for using the Atmos suits, then it will be not only filling the Atmos suits, it'll be throwing any carbon that happens to get in the system out into outside so that you don't have to worry about it. So I've actually returned back. Poor Luke and Lando were having a rough go. While I was there, I started to realize, and through a good test on a base, you start to, realize the errors of your design. You never can just look at a design on paper in this game and assume that it's going to work. It's a good starting basis, but all good systems need to be thoroughly tested before you can start really refining the system to perfection. So you can see this has changed a lot. So power was an issue. So the number one thing I did is I've gone and added solar panels, more of them. So now there's 7. We do get diminishing returns. Okay? Each one as you drop down gives you a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. But the point is, even though this is only about 15 more watts of power, I don't need 2 batteries. And I also, in particular, I have nothing else I want to put in here. So I might as well just have as many solar panels as I want. The reason why is because I'm not going to be going to get gases or liquid. And as far as these large cargo bays go, 27 tons, takes 5 tiles though. Yeah, it's too much. Instead, I have capacity 2 containers, which is 40 tons, plus any of these that are empty is 1 ton each. So theoretically, 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, we're looking at about 64 tons of material I could be hauling back from a planet if I had emptied everything. If I'd gone for the max run of what I could go for. So really did change things around because I realized that I wanted to reduce the power usage. The only things that require power now is the atmosphere docks, the diffuser, and the pump. And as long as you don't make a mistake and let the system, like I did, run itself dry through a bad setup, and then have to try and recover from it, it's going to keep working. It's not going to have power issues. But the problem is that when I had the party line phone, it needs power. And anytime there was any power sputter, power issues, etc., if anything was going down that's incorrect, the dupes wouldn't finish their call and they wouldn't get their morale buff of 4. Also, if for any reason somebody else who's not on the same planet was not talking at the phone at that time, so let's say for some reason your base, the power went out, something, you don't get that 4 morale. Well, that 4 morale is enough with those dupes that it goes from being high morale to low morale, and then the stress train begins. So I couldn't rely on that party line because it had variables involved that was outside of the control of the internal system. One was having other people on the line, and 2 was just power, right? So instead now what we've got is the beach chair. Now, the beach chair without a light gives 5 morale. So we've already are gaining 1 more morale over what the old one was doing, and it takes 0 power. So this is why this is a little bit less almost efficient as what the party line was. Is the party line only takes 2 spaces in the rocket, and this thing takes 6 spaces. So that's the end of the video, and as I said, I'm just going to quickly flash the overlay. So this is I'm not going to explain it all. There is a guide up that fully explains it, but I'll just give the quick flash overlays for anyone who want to copy the design. So here's your main design. There's your electrical design. Here is your water design. Your gas with this is a powerless filter. I have a guide up soon. I'm going to explain how to do this properly. Your decor should be about this on average. And then finally, there is your automation. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Appreciate everybody who's watched it, and appreciate all the support I've been getting from everybody in the community. It inspires me to keep going. And with that said, have a great day.